Hello YouTube. So as a friend of mine pointed out, next week we are going into Pride Month, and he actually, so cute, he actually was like, could you send me a short little video about what Pride means to you? He is probably somebody who's definitely more liked on YouTube than I am. And I actually was like, you don't want my contribution to this. I don't think it's going to go over well with the type of people who watch your YouTube videos on your content. But him bringing that up, I thought, all right, this is a good time to go back to my roots. For those of you guys who have been with my channel from the very beginning, you know that when I first started this channel, the idea behind the channel was that I was going to make videos talking actually mostly only about things that I saw within the gay community that I thought were problematic, that I felt I wanted to address and change and help out with and all this kind of stuff. And I've expanded in different ways since then, but hey, now is a good time to kind of go back to my roots, talk about issues that I've seen in the gay community and how I feel about Pride. So the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of talk about the history of being gay and what it means to be gay and the persecution of being gay and the lifestyle of being gay for probably the vast majority of history now. There have been times in world history where being gay was more socially acceptable or not, but for the most part in the last 100, 200 years, being gay was definitely seen as a negative. A lot of that has come obviously from the predominant religions that exist in our time now that are all anti-gay, and the way that those viewpoints in the dogmas of this religion had then spilled over into societal and cultural norms. So because being gay was just something that was not socially acceptable anywhere from, you know, in modern times now, from where parents would probably generally just prefer to have straight children, and it would just be easier to be straight, but you aren't going to be harmed, to other parts of the world where being gay is still illegal and you could be put to death, kind of like where I live now in Saudi Arabia. The history of gay people is, with it not being something that was allowed, is that most people, or probably everyone, lived closeted for the duration of their life. Maybe they even got married and had children, and all gay interactions were secretive, and a lot of them were very, very just sexual encounters, because that was the extent of what gay life could be. So, you know, gay men would find each other in public toilets or in the park or in saunas and stuff like that, and they would live out these short-term sexual relationships because that was the only thing that society would give them, you know. So I think that being kind of the nature of what was allowed, or what was not allowed, but was the only outlet that you could have as a gay person, kind of turned into what in German we would call a Teufelskreis. I'm not really sure, like American, but it's kind of like where one thing causes another thing to happen, that causes another thing to happen, and they kind of just go in this circular motion where, you know, gay men only had the outlet. And this video is mostly about gay men. Sorry, my lesbian viewers, I love you guys, actually, but yeah. So gay men only had a certain outlet. They could only meet secretively in certain public places, have quick sexual relationships. So that's what they did, which led to this prevailing idea by the heterosexual norm or culture wide that gay men were deviants and perverts, and they were only into sex, so it kind of created this even more resent towards being gay people and then being gross and nasty because they're doing that, which created even more fear and resentment within gay people, so they become more closeted, so they even more so only felt that they could have sexual relationships, which more so encouraged the straight norm or the culture to think of them as deviants, which more put them in the closet. And we just had like this cycle, you know, where it was just constantly building onto each other, you know. And then during the 60s and 70s, you know, a lot of civil rights movements happened. You know, probably most famous civil rights movement is obviously equality for Black people, at least in America. But also, of course, women's rights and gay rights and all this kind of stuff were coming out. And we saw the beginning of, let's say, gay pride. And a lot of people fought and died and were imprisoned and were beaten for the right to live openly, live as a part of the community at large. And if you look at really early representations or early pictures of the first few gay prides, which I'm going to put in here, you can see these are just people who are trying to say, we are just people like everybody else. We want to be accepted for who we are. We want to be accepted for how we love and who we love. And this is our message. And we are not ashamed of who we are. We are your brothers. We are your neighbors. We are your coworkers, etc., etc. And if you look at these early gay prides, and then maybe look, I'll put up a picture of like the recent Women's March, and you know, the march in Ferguson. You know, one of the things that all these marches have in common is it is just people. It is just people kind of presenting their existence and, you know, protesting in a civil way, saying, you know, this is what needs to change. You know, that's it. And this is something that I would say I really take pride in. I think these are amazing movements. I think these are the way that we should represent ourselves as gay people. Now jump forward to the 2000s, and this is what we have for gay pride. And this. And this. And I have to ask you guys, what does this have to do with gay pride? What does this have to do with being gay whatsoever? I mean, men walking around naked, public making out, touching each other, people, glitter, fairy wings, you know, drag queens. I don't have anything against drag queens, but what does that have to do with pride in being gay? I take no pride in this. And I can also say I have not gone to a gay pride parade since the very first one I went to, because I really said, this does not represent me. I don't see what a bunch of buff, hairless men in Speedos with fairy wings on a float, what that has to do with me being gay, what that has to do with gay pride. I think it, to me, it really just, again, feeds into this idea of what straight culture views us as, you know, and it just over-sexualizes us again. And obviously being gay is different in, you know, being a woman or being Black, because it has to do with sexuality. But I think that there's a positive and a negative way that you can express your sexuality. And I think to just make our sexuality be the forefront of what it is to be gay is a very sad way to think of yourself. I feel like I am a gay man. I am sexually attracted to men. But that doesn't define me. that is not who, that does not tell people who I am, what I am about, what my standpoints are, how I feel about different political issues. And I just overall I don't see where the pride comes in when it comes to these movements. I see no pride in this, and I take no pride in this at all. If anything at all, this is something I want to very much distance myself from. You know, I've mentioned in videos a long time ago that I said the proper way that I feel a social movement, a proper way to do a social movement is, yes, in the very beginning of the social movement, you have to push boundaries. You really have to create awareness. You have to say, we're not going to take it anymore. And then you can be a little more risque, and you can push, and you can really force people to listen to your message. And a lot of times you do that by scandalizing, by really creating a presence in somehow. And then you reach a level where you have become more or less socially acceptable, which in the West gay people have. And then you should then go into a different stance and say, and now we're going to show, now that people have accepted us and we've been given our rights, and we have. In the Western world, you know, we have the right to adopt, we have the right to get married, we have the equal rights that we fought for. I think then, for me, the next step should be, and now let us show you how we can be a part of the culture at large, how we can integrate, how we are just also hard-working, productive individuals who have the same wants and wishes as everybody else. And then we should just kind of basically disappear into the mainstream. This is just my personal view on how a civil rights movement should be done, and how civil rights movement can have long-term success. You know, so what is something that I take pride in? Here's some people. So I'm gonna have to look on my list. So here's people things that represent gay culture that I would say I take pride in. Aldo Davila, first openly gay congressman in Colombia. You know, Arsham Parsi, an LGBT activist from Iran who now lives in exile because he was trying to create awareness and to promote LGBT rights in that country. We have, I'm really going to butcher this name, Sulhaz Manan. He was a Bangladeshi man who created the first LGBT-focused magazine, and actually was killed in that country for being openly gay. We have Manvendra Singh, who was like the first openly gay royal in India, also a big gay rights activist. Thomas Mann. So he was not openly gay because at the time it wasn't possible, but he's a Nobel Prize winner for literature, and he wrote a lot of books exploring his homosexual feelings and such. And Wataru Ijizaka, who is a Japanese social worker. He was a teacher for the disabled. He's now a politician in Japan. And of course, there's like a plethora of lists I can send you. But this is the kind of things that I want to see in gay pride parades. I want to see lawyers, doctors, politicians, you know, social workers, teachers, people that, pillars of the community that are contributing to making society in large a better place, who, but at the same time, are just the neighbor or just the person down the street that you would see. They don't have to be bodybuilders. They don't have to have six packs. They don't have to walk around naked. They are just another person that you would encounter who are trying to put all of society in a better place, that are trying to create awareness, but also open-mindedness, and also just help society in general. This is what I want to see in a gay pride parade. I've always said that in a gay pride parade. Well, I want to see that. Like, why don't I see the working day-to-day professionals? You know, like doctors for LGBT, lawyers for LGBT, teachers for LGBT, walking in just day-to-day work clothes, like you see it in all the other parades. None of the other parades or marches are about look, here we are with our glitter and our nude bodies. That is not pride for me, and I will not take pride in that, and I cannot take pride in that. You know, so yeah, so these are some role models that I think we should really consider. The other aspect that I think is so damaging, for me at least, in terms of why I don't say that I have pride. I mean, I personally have said many times, I don't really see the point in taking pride in something that is just intrinsically who you are. I don't take pride in being German. I don't take pride in being white. I don't take pride in being male. I don't take pride in being gay. I mean, these are things that are beyond my control, so to take pride in it to me is just kind of silly anyway. But another thing that I really kills gay pride for me is the way we have now moved away from relationships, okay? So, quick disclaimer, everybody has the right to live their life the way that they want. I'm not going to go into somebody else's relationship and say that it's wrong or right. Actually, I'm going to kind of say that. Never mind. But, you know, this is just my channel and my opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. You live your life however you want. I have no control over who you are and how you want to live your life. But I'm going to talk about what I think is the way that I could take pride in it. So, and one of the things I've complained and talked about more about and been more critical of than anything else in any of my videos where I talk about gay lifestyle is the way that we talk about relationships. So less and less and less gay people believe in monogamous relationships. I'll put some pictures up of people that are, you know, I don't know if they are in monogamous relationships, but just kind of like the way I would like to see relationships and families represented when it comes to the gay community. I am 100% completely only believe in monogamy when it comes to relationships. I don't believe in open relationships. I don't believe in polyamorous relationships. I don't, again, you can do whatever you want, but that will never, ever, ever be an acceptable relationship for somebody that I'm with. And I will admit I am critical to people who are in these relationships. At least in terms of terminology, I don't think we should call an open relationship a relationship. I don't think we should call a polyamorous relationship a relationship. You can call it friendship with benefits, whatever, but to me, that is not on par with a relationship. And, you know, I was just, it's funny, I was talking to a therapist, psychologist that I met, not for me looking them up, not that I think there's anything wrong with that if you feel you need to, but more on a, are we interested in each other, and we were kind of flirting and talking to each other. And I was kind of talking to him about how he counsels gay couples. And it was weird because we ended up not matching up because he said that he doesn't tell the people who come to him for therapy, the couples that come, that they should consider monogamy, because to him, being monogamous is kind of like giving up. You're giving up a part of yourself, which is the sexual part of you that wants to be with other people. And my counter argument to that was, I don't see it as giving up. I see it as self-sacrifice. And I think, what is more beautiful than sacrificing a little bit of yourself for the happiness of the person you're with, or for the happiness of the relationship? Like, this is just something I will never understand when people say that, you know, we're men and men have to be sexual and we have to be able to. I mean, what is the point of a relationship? To me, is that you put somebody else before yourself. And this whole mentality of, I want my cake and to eat it too, is just something I find very pervasive in society at large nowadays. It's like everybody is so self-centered in their wants and desires, and they can't put anything aside for anything. If it's the relationship, if it's for family, it's always what makes me happy is more important than what is good for the relationship. So that's one aspect that I just really don't agree with when it comes to this idea. And the bigger issue, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm probably gonna have an aneurysm while I talk about this. Okay, try to stay calm. You guys know how easily I get. Look, this drives me crazy. Is one of the main arguments I always hear from people when they say that why gay men shouldn't have to be in monogamous relationships, or why monogamous relationships don't make sense for gay men, is because it is heteronormative. And gay people don't have to follow heteronormative rules. And I say complete BS, biggest bunch of BS I have ever heard. Because now, if you go back to the very beginning of the video, what did we establish in how the history of gay people is? Because heterosexual society didn't accept gay people, we were forced to have indiscriminate, short-term, casual sexual relationships. That is actually what heterosexual society put us into, is the box that they created for us that we then decided, and now we are actually living out exactly the box that the heterosexual normative culture put us in. They said that we were purely sexual beings, that we could not form real relationships, that we could not live in happy monogamous relationships, that is just something that gay men can't do. And rather than rebel against that and say, no, the heterosexual culture is not going to define me as this deviant sexual creature like they have for the past 200 years, I'm going to prove to them that we can be in stable, happy, monogamous relationships. No, they've now actually taken that argument, twisted it, and said, yeah, we don't have to follow heteronormative rules because we're gay men. But we're actually playing exactly into the card that was handed to us. It just makes no sense to me. It drives me crazy when people are like, we don't have to follow heteronormative rules. I'm like, but you're following exactly the stereotype that was placed upon us. If you decide to live in an open relationship or in a polyamorous relationship, you are, or just whatever, you are basically living out the stereotype that was placed on us by the culture at large. And if there's one thing I cannot abide, is I'm not going to be a stereotype. I am not going to let external cultural pressures dictate who I am as a gay man. External cultures, they say, okay, you're going to be very promiscuous. You're going to care only about fashion. You're only going to care about going to the gym. You're going to be, you know, really shallow and gossipy. These are external opinions of what gay culture is. And the vast majority of gay men follow it and actually think of it as liberating. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, these are things that were forced upon us. Now we live them out and say that it's liberating because this is freedom from heteronormative culture. No, no. No, that is wrong. That is like, that thought process makes no sense to me and angers me to no end. There's nothing liberating about being in a polyamorous or in an open relationship. All you're doing is living out the stereotype that was placed on us by straight culture. And the other thing is that I find that is such a double standard, because it has been my experience that the people who really push this open relationship because, you know, it's a man's nature to try to have sex with everybody and to be highly sexual and all kinds of stuff, and that's just our, you know, and we don't have to follow heteronormative rules. Those same people then turn around and then do things like this. No femmes. These, like, so many of these people then turn around and are so stuck on this straight acting, man for man, only masculine dudes. And I'm like, what is more heteronormative than this idea of what it means to be a man? That is the most heteronormative attitude ever. So it literally just doesn't make any sense when I hear people talking like about things like that. They're like, on the one hand, they're like, we don't have to be heteronormative and follow a monogamous relationship coupling but at the same time, we're going to be super heteronormative and say that this is what a man is. A man has to be masculine and butch and aggressive and all this kind of stuff. And if you're feminine, then you're less. And feminine gay men are treated as less in the gay community and are highly, highly judged. And I mean, what is it? So what is it? Should we follow heteronorms? Should we not follow heteronorms? Like, pick something and make a decision one way or the other. You know, like, it just, so no, I don't take gay pride. I don't subscribe to gay pride the way it is presented to us in this time. I want to see strong, productive, monogamous, day-to-day people. They don't have to be super fit. They don't have to have six packs. Just normal, day-to-day, average people going to work, contributing to their community, and just living out their lives without their sexuality having to be this forefront of everything they do. It's like everywhere they go, it's like, I have to make sure everybody knows I'm gay. Gay, 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 gay. That's like, that is not what defines me as a person. That is the least thing. Like, I'm not ashamed of being gay. Most of the people who know me know that I'm gay. I don't deny being gay. But to make it such a small aspect of myself into such a huge public display is something I will not take pride in. And don't. So yeah, as always, comments, feedback. What do you think? Do you take pride? Do you not take pride? Do you go to gay pride parades? Do you think what happens at gay pride parades represents you? Do you think that is something to take pride in? I think most people who are going to watch this are going to be like, no, you're wrong. Open relationships are great. Like, you're not going to convince me of that. But if you want to make an argument for them, you can. Yeah, so feedback, comments, as always, highly valued, highly interested. And hopefully you guys are doing well, and take care. Bye.